Whew. Lovely place. My basement.
Here you are, sir.
Oh, thank you. All right. I'm gonna start with
Good choice.
the roast.
Right, of
the
course,
sear,
yes.
the char, the boil.
Good choice.
I'm gonna have the melt.
Definitely.
The explosion.
Right
The
away.
implosion.
That
Boil.
sounds
The
great.
salad.
You have a
make
wonderful
that
palate,
all
sir.
Taste faintly citrusy. That'd be swell.
Right away, sir. Right away, right away.
This miniseries was envisioned as an exploration of the champion's driving desires. But if that was the only thing we were looking at when addressing Daruk, well, this video wouldn't be very long. No, we need to expand our criteria and ultimately ask the greater question: is Daruk a good character? I can see your appetite dribbling down your gaping quartz cave. But steady that hanger, for we are going to address this quandary from the position of a creative writer. For, as the saying goes, give a man a rock, he'll break his teeth. Teach a man to roast rock, and he'll better understand complex character development and stuff. We're Goron gourmets, and let me tell you about cooking Daruk. Goron, more like Snoron. And that was my first draft. The main quest of Breath of the Wild is to wrestle the divine beasts from Ganon's control. That makes saving the champions a win condition. Technically, you don't have to free them if you want to make the final battle something of a challenge, or are itching to get to that masterpiece of an ending. After 100 years, Hyrule is free! Oh boy. Regardless, the champions give us a human investment in the goals of the game. By conquering this dungeon, you're not just progressing the game and gaining a new ability, you're freeing the soul of a departed ally who you like, cause they fuck with prog rock or whatever. Gameplay loops should be enjoyable and the objectives should excite you to engage with them on their own, but having characters you're invested in is a great way to add another dimension to the flavor. From a game design perspective, you want the player to want to save Daruk. If you're going to attempt a story, the narrative should serve as its own gameplay loop. So, Mr. Muffins, how do you make a character worth caring about? Braided hairbands! Class dismissed! There is no magic formula that will conjure a great character, so argues David Corbett in The Art of I Brought This Book Up last time but didn't engage with it in a meaningful way. Corbett says there are plenty of beats you want your characters to hit, but you can bring all the best ingredients to the kitchen and still end up with a rock. However, Corbett suggests there are dramatic elements a character can possess that we as an audience will generally find compelling. First is a defined desire that motivates action. What does Daruk want? Whack a pig? Chief some rocks. Simple enough, but desire alone does not a character make. Or Monkey D. Luffy would be the greatest hero of all time.
I'm gonna be king of the pirates!
You need obstacles, barriers, things for your characters to overcome on their way to their goal. In a word, conflict. What stands in the way of Daruk taking names and getting grub? He fucking dies! Death is obviously an external conflict, something in the physical world, but internal conflicts, conflicts of moral, perspective, beliefs, these are just as important, if not more. $2 million BC. Excellent year. It is as Corbett might argue, it is how desire and personality interact with each other, and challenge and contort as they interact, that defines good drama. So the important question to ask is, How is Daruk changed by his experiences? He isn't. There is something that we could cite as an implication for why Daruk passed on, something that could challenge his character. I came up with this term as a joke, but now I can't get it out of my mind, so we're rolling with it. Toxic goronity. The Goron's historic value of strength, likely originating in their need to mine the rocks they have to eat to survive, has made their society a bunch of outgoing muscle men who see themselves as stronger than others.
Times like these, you shouldn't leave the castle without a horde of mighty Gorons to watch your back.
Daruk's muscle log for Unlamo men states Daruk comes to respect Link for him demonstrating traits Goron's value, being a strong warrior and eating rocks, the madman. All sorts of things a decent person wouldn't. What is that supposed to be? Zelda shows Daruk that Hylians can be strong in their own way. That's all neat, but it doesn't factor into Daruk's growth. Daruk, he learns nothing in his defeat and subsequent rescue by the player. When you force your way onto Varudanya, he doesn't seem all that broken up about having died. His greeting sounds like a 3 a.m. voice message.
Hey, little guy. Long time no see. I always knew you'd come back. You know, I never stopped believing in you.
I guess 100 years imprisoned in a Roblox salamander gives you time to cope. Any growth that might have been meaningful for Daruk happens off-screen before the story. Lip service is paid to Daruk struggling to master control of Varudanya in a couple of different spots, but that doesn't amount to anything, even in the DLC expanding this plot. I asked Link for advice, but he just shoved me into the Divine Beast so I could explore it aimlessly all day. I can't explain it, but by the end of the day, I was able to control Rudania just how I wanted to. There's no problem doing nothing won't fix. I'm running for government. It would have been interesting to see these ideas explored in the part of the story that we get to experience and interact with. With that in mind, here is our rewrite recipe for an easy midday meal packed with all of the essential minerals. Because he's a rock, get it? That's our one joke. Alright, we're in the Varudania memory. Daruk is struggling to get up the mountain, and Link leans in to help him, and Daruk goes, "Oh no, little guy, Daruk's got this." And then he crashes, but plays it off all confident like, "See? I just parked." He saves Link from the rock side and goes, "Woo, good thing I, Daruk of strong body and supple ween, was here." Then he dies. And he's sad about it. Aww. When you get to Varudanya in the present, Daruk is like, "Where are the Gorons? Even I, with my Bowflex bod, could not defeat Ganon." And then you wreck his preconceptions because this boss is baby's first blight, and Daruk gets all apologetic like, "I should not have looked down on you. The real Divine Beast is the power of equality." He takes Rudolph up the mountain and nails it this time. Daruk learns he was full of himself, and piloting a divine beast means being a better person. So anyway, Daruk is, as Corbett might say, a collection of character traits. He's confident, simple but earnest, and fears woof woof. But those things do not interact with his desires to create drama. I get Zelda games don't skew too dramatic, but as it stands, Daruk comes across as having no awareness. We gave a pass to his desires for the sake of argument earlier, but wanting to beat the evil and stuff your face in between deadlifts isn't enthralling enough in a large-scale fantasy story, because, well, apart from ingesting rocks, that's the entire world's desire. It's implied by being a good person you want Ganon gone. So when you're looking at a specific character, what need does saving the world satisfy beyond the self-evident? The other champions undergo some degree of growth in the game proper, which is why it is jarring that Daruk doesn't. One might say, well, Yunobo is the one who's supposed to grow. He has the dramatic tale which Daruk facilitates. There's obviously nothing wrong with that as a narrative, but it does leave Daruk as the odd one out of a compelling group whose personal stories tell us something about themselves and their world. More to the point, attempts are made to invest us in conflicts Daruk faces. But like his difficulty controlling Varudanya, these attempts are underexplored. The Ballad DLC enriches our understanding of the champion's journeys. Rivali transformed into arguably the best developed character in the game by doubling down on the longing and insecurity vibes he was already giving off in the base experience. Urbosa's content dug deeper into the relationship with her surrogate daughter, giving her even more of a personal stake in saving Hyrule. These stakes make their struggles compelling. Their convictions are why they are the champions. Breath of the Wild seems to be saying Daruk is a champion because he's strong. I suspect Daruk's memory was intended to give him some vulnerability, which is one of Corbett's cornerstones of character. He advocates vulnerability as a signifier of risk to the character's well-being. Risk can create a meaningful struggle we are drawn to follow. But this fear never surfaces again, even in the abstract. Whatever the intention was, this vulnerability ends up being just a joke.
Daruk just doesn't stack up against the other champions, who infuse the player with dramatic stakes in the story through the way they express their vulnerability and demonstrate, what saving the world means to them personally. Though Daruk's conflicts don't go anywhere, his story does establish a theme of the Vah Rudania questline. I can't believe we're actually going with this, but toxic goronity.
As a collection of traits Goron's value, that hairstyle, Daruk's Chad stature, is desirable to other Gorons, such as his successors. I love Bloss Bluto. Facing a crisis, Bluto is doing everything to hide his waning physicality. He lies about back pain to avoid admitting he can't defeat Rudania. He undermines Yunobo, calling him a slacker, all the while exaggerating his own ability. He even lies about being the only one who can manipulate the cannons, forbidding anyone from touching them. After you reclaim Rudania, Bluto calls you out for making him look like the liar he is. Yunobo defies the Goron norm Bluto is a caricature of. His baby face and reserved physicality are at odds with his hulking figure. He starts off frightened at the sight of you, but learning the player can accomplish feats in spite of their stature, such as broadsiding this cave, or doing this, convinces Yunobo to do something about Rudania without the boss. The two of you subdue Rudania by being clever, utilizing the environment to avoid and defeat the Guardians supposedly only the boss could do with his definitely functioning knees. Your adventure helps Yunobo get out from under Bluto. In the end, seeing his ancestor looking proudly on him solidifies his sense of self and the bravery Yunobo already possessed. Because shock and awe, the power was in him all along. That's why, metaphorically, Yunobo can just do Daruk's protection. Bluto shows adherence to strength will eventually fail, and this implication suggests that ideal is why Daruk failed as well. This theme of one way of thought not being enough permeates the Vah Rudania quest, and yet the one who is least evolved by its influence is the central figure. With a narrative that emphasized the effects of Daruk's defeat on his perspective, this scene would be gosh dang epic. As it stands, it's unearned, but I dig it. Just as characters can be more than the sum of their arcs and functions, they can also be less than their presentation. We need only look to your waifu for that.
Was my ceiling always rotational? So if there was any question at this point, no, I don't think Daruk is a good character.
I feel like I should apologize.
If you ever find yourself with an incoming dinner party hankering for a hearty mealed character, consider our recipe for a full arced Daruk. You'll have a flavorful evening of dismantling the Goronarchy. This analogy fell apart some time ago.
Vampire!